What's good, everyone? It's ProJakers here. Welcome back to the channel. Remember 4 controllers, 1 TV, pizza boxes stacked on the coffee table, and your best friend stealing your kills in Halo while you're both screaming at each other from 3 feet away? That one friend who always picked Odd Job and GoldenEye, or that one friend that always screen look and somehow convinced everyone it was fair? And now if you picture the modern gaming experience, you're usually alone in your room talking to a faceless username through a headset and playing with people you've never met and probably never will. And sure, it's still fun today, and I still like it, and the graphics are better, connections are more stable, the player pool is infinite, but something irreplaceable was lost in that transition, and something that goes way beyond just how we play games. And we didn't just lose split screen gaming over the years, we lost a fundamental way that humans connect with each other. And this is a story of the death of couch co-op gaming, and more importantly, what that death took from us as a society. Because this isn't really about video games, it's about the last great social ritual of the digital age. And let's start by just remembering what we had. Like, the early 2000s and even early 2010s were absolute peak of couch co-op gaming, and every major console had 4 controller ports, and every big game had local multiplayer, and your social status wasn't determined by your follower count, it was determined by whether people wanted to come over to your house and play games. And GoldenEye 64 wasn't just a game, it was a social event. Halo and Call of Duty were the same thing. Even the Wii with Mario Kart and games like that, like, you'd plan entire weekends around it, and someone's parents going out of town meant immediate text chain. A GoldenEye tournament or a Call of Duty tournament at so-and-so's house, and everyone would show up with their own controllers sometimes because you knew the generic third-party ones were trash. There was a whole ritual to it, and arguing over who got which character in games, and debating whether proximity mines were cheap, and the unspoken rule that whoever owned the game got to set the rules, but the unspoken democracy that if your rules were too stupid, people would stop coming over. But here's what you can't get from online gaming: the physical comedy, watching your friend's face as you blue shelled them right before the finish line at Mario Kart, and the way someone would lean into turns like it was they're actually going to help their character, the trash talk happening in real time, face to face, with immediate consequences. I remember trolling my friends on like blackopszombies and Left 4 Dead 2 and games like that, like in person. It was the funniest shit ever. And couch co-op games and split screen taught us how to handle competition with people we actually cared about, and how to win gracefully and lose with dignity sometimes. It didn't always happen, but most importantly, it's how to keep playing together even when someone was clearly better than everyone else. And there was no rage quitting to a different lobby, but people might have fought each other and stuff over games. That's happened before too, but these were your friends, and you had to figure out how to make it fun for everyone. And game developers understood this social dynamic and designed around it. Asymmetrical gameplay where different players had different roles, and handicap systems to level the playing field. Game modes specifically designed to create memorable moments rather than just test skill. The games are built to facilitate friendship and not just competition. And couch co-op was also incredibly accessible. You didn't need 4 consoles and 4 copies of the game and 4 internet connections. You needed one setup and some friends, and the barrier to entry was as low as it could possibly be. Every session created shared memories that belonged exclusively to your group, and inside jokes that only made sense if you were there. References to specific moments that would make you all laugh years later. These weren't just gaming sessions, they were bonding experiences disguised as entertainment. So what the hell killed couch co-op? And the short answer is technology got better. But that's also the problem. Sometimes technological advancement doesn't make things objectively better, it just makes them different, and we lose something valuable in the process. And this has happened with a lot of stuff. And the first nail in the coffin was graphics. As games became more visually complex, split screen became a technical nightmare for some games, and rendering the same detailed environment 4 times simultaneously pushed consoles to their limit, and frame rates dropped, graphics quality suffered, and suddenly split screen felt like the inferior experience. I remember actually playing Black Ops 4 around the time when it came out. We were all at my friend's house, and we decided to run a split screen, and it ran terribly. It was like damn near unplayable. And then there was also the screen space issue, as games became more information dense with mini-maps and health bars and inventory systems, achievement notifications. Splitting that information across 4 tiny quadrants made games genuinely harder to play, like with Black Ops 4. What worked fine in the simple visual language of GoldenEye didn't work for the modern game UI. And meanwhile, internet infrastructure was rapidly improving, and Xbox Live launched, and suddenly you could play with people across the world with relatively little lag. The player pool went from whoever is available to come over to literally millions of people are online right now. For developers, online online multiplayer became the obviously superior choice, and why spend months optimizing split screen performance when you can just require everyone to have their own console and game copy? Online multiplayer was technically easier to implement and potentially more profitable. And from a player perspective, online gaming solved a lot of logistical problems, and no more coordinated schedules, no more arguing over who brings snacks, no more dealing with that one friend who takes the game way too seriously. Just boot up, find a match, and play for however you want and just log off. The transition to HD gaming made split screen even more problematic, so on a standard definition TV, quarter screen wasn't great, but it was playable. But on early HD TVs that were still relatively small, quarter screen became genuinely difficult to see. The technology improved, but it improved in a way that made local multiplayer worse. And even controllers evolved in ways that made sharing less practical. Wireless controllers were amazing for single player gaming, but they were expensive. Suddenly you couldn't just have a drawer full of wired controllers for when friends came over. Everyone needed their own $60 wireless controller, or you were stuck with inferior wired alternatives. Modern games also became massive, installing a 50 gig game from disk and sometimes 3 times the amount of that, and downloading day one patches, setting up accounts. The friction involved in just getting a game running for multiple people became significant, and it was easier just to play online where everyone had their own setup. But here's what we didn't anticipate: the social experience of gaming online is fundamentally different from gaming in person, and not just in obvious ways. We gained efficiency and lost humanity. Now, I grew up in a time where I watched the transition go from split screen co-op gaming over to online gaming, and I've also met some very good friends and people I still talk to today from online gaming. So I'm somewhere in the middle with this, because I miss split screen, but I also saw what gaming did like in the early 2010s with meeting people online. But now I feel like nowadays in the modern day, online people become voices at best and usernames at worst, and the physical proximity forced immediate conflict resolution. And if someone was being a jerk, you had to deal with it right then and there because you were literally sitting next to them in the same room. And granted, we had Modern Warfare 2 lobbies and all that stuff, a lot of shit talking, and people dealt with stuff there too, but it created the social pressure to be reasonable and to compromise and to work things out. And online, you can just mute someone or leave the game. And the shared emotional highs and lows were completely different in person. And when your team pulled off an impossible comeback in local multiplayer and you experience that joy together, and physically you high-fived, you yelled, you felt the energy in the room, and online victories feel isolated even when you're technically playing with others. And granted, like I said, it did not feel like that back then. I feel like today it feels like that. And we lost the concept of gaming hospitality, and being a good host means having snacks and comfortable seating and good controllers, and maybe even letting guests win occasionally. There was an art to making sure everyone had a good time back then, and online gaming eliminated the need to be hospitable. And we lost these social skills in the process, is what I'm trying to say. And couch co-op was amazing for teaching new players, and an experienced player could literally point at the screen and guide someone through the controls, give real-time advice. The learning curve was collaborative rather than isolating. We also lost the spectator experience. In couch co-op, half the fun was watching other people play and commenting on their strategies, watching other people get mad, cheering for the underdog comebacks. Everyone was invested in every match because everyone was physically present. And online gaming is much more isolated experience today, even when you're playing with friends. And people's true personalities came out in the couch co-op in ways that online gaming doesn't always capture. You couldn't hide behind an avatar or a username. Your friends knew exactly how you handled winning and losing, and how you treated weaker players, and whether you were a gracious or petty player. And it was a more authentic social experience. But the death of split screen gaming didn't just change gaming, it eliminated one of the last regular reasons for young people today to gather in person for shared activities. And the timing of this shift coincided with some of the major social changes that amplified its impact, like with social media and all types of other stuff coming into play as well. And think about how friendships used to form and strengthen, and shared activities repeated in person interaction, collaborative experiences that created inside jokes and memories, and couch co-op gaming was perfectly designed to facilitate this. You'd start as acquaintances and bond over games and develop genuine friendships through shared experiences. And like I said, as couch co-op died, social media was rising, and we replaced in-person gaming sessions with online interactions that felt social but lacked the depth of the physical presence. And we traded quality social time for quantity social connections and hundreds of online friends instead of the tight-knit gaming group. And couch co-op taught crucial crucial social skills that we're seeing deficits in now. Reading social cues, managing group dynamics, resolving conflicts face to face, sharing space gracefully. These skills transfer to every other area of life, and work, relationships, family interactions. Local multiplayer was inherently more collaborative, and even when competitive, you were all physically together. There were economic implications too, which couch co-op gaming was incredibly cost-effective socializing. One game could entertain 4 people for months, and now everyone needs their own console, their own copy of games, their own online subscriptions. Gaming became less accessible just as it became more popular, and we lost intergenerational gaming opportunities. Parents could easily join in couch co-op sessions. They didn't need their own console or deep gaming knowledge. They could play too, and other family members, stuff like that, could play. And online gaming created barriers between generations that didn't exist before. Gaming became less of a family activity and friend activity, more of an individual pursuit. Gaming parties died when couch co-op. You can't have a Call of Duty party the way you could have a Halo party, and because everyone needs to go home and have their own setup today. We lost gaming as a social event and gained gaming as a solo activity that happens to involve other people remotely. And let's be honest about the industry's role in killing couch co-op, because there were deliberate business decisions that prioritized profit over social gaming experiences. It all really came down to profit, and couch co-op was honestly terrible for business, and one sale could support 4 players indefinitely. Online multiplayer meant 4 sales, 4 console subscriptions, 4 ongoing service fees, and the math was simple. The shift to online gaming also enabled this in ways that local gaming never could, and servers could be shut down, forcing players to move to newer games. Updates could break compatibility with older hardware. Local gaming was harder to make obsolete because it didn't depend on external infrastructure. And the industry's shift towards games as a service was fundamentally incompatible with couch co-op gaming, and you can't continuously monetize players who share games and play locally. It just doesn't work. And ironically, as development costs increased, the industry abandoned the business model that was most accessible to consumers. Instead of making games that could serve more people with fewer purchases, they made games that required more purchases to serve the same number of people. It's not like the industry completely abandoned local multiplayer. There have been attempts to bring it back with varying degrees of success, and Nintendo has remained relatively committed to local multiplayer. Indie developers have picked up some of the slack in creating games specifically designed around local co-op experiences like Overcooked, Moving Out. There's still demand for shared screen gaming. It's just the expectations in the market are dominated by online-only experiences. Modern attempts at couch co-op often feel like compromises rather than the primary intended experience, and reduced graphics quality, simplified gameplay mechanics, or gameplay that's clearly been designed for online play first and adapted for local play as an afterthought. So is couch co-op gaming dead forever? Not necessarily. There are signs that both developers and players are recognizing what we've lost and trying to recapture some of it. And till this day, like, me and my girls still play games, and if I'm with friends and the moment's right, we'll all play on the game too in person, and you can still have fun experiences with this. I don't think it'll ever return to how it was, but we can be grateful that it happened. And some games are experimenting with hybrid approaches, and cloud gaming and streaming services might actually make local multiplayer more viable again. And if processing power isn't limited by local hardware, rendering multiple viewpoints simultaneously becomes less of a technical challenge. There's growing cultural recognition that we lost something valuable, and articles about the death of couch co-op and documentaries about gaming history, even academic research about the social benefits of in-person gaming. Awareness is the first step towards solution, my friend. Gaming communities are creating their own solutions, and there's local gaming groups, retro gaming nights, even purposely seeking out the few modern games that still support local multiplayer. The demand exists, it's just not being served by the mainstream industry. I'm not saying online gaming is inherently bad, it's not at all. The ability to connect with people across the world and to maintain friendships across distances and find communities of people who share your interests, these are genuine benefits that we shouldn't dismiss, and it is very convenient. But we gave up something irreplaceable in exchange for those benefits, and we traded intimate social experiences for convenient social connections. We choose efficiency over humanity, individual optimization over group cohesion. The good news is that this isn't irreversible, and find the games that still support local multiplayer and host gaming nights. Dust off those old consoles, call up the boys, get something scheduled, show younger people what they missed, create space for in-person gaming experiences in your social circle. I know when I have kids one day, I'm gonna show them all these games and show them how we did shit back in the day, because the death of co-op gaming was just a death of gaming as a social ritual. But social rituals can be revived. They just need people who care enough to make it happen. So thank you for watching, and remember, the next time you have the choice between playing online alone or playing locally with friends, choose the friends. Your future self will thank you for it. Peace out.